after. So let's see how G2 decide to. I mean, let's see if G2 stay with this with a similar kind of comp, and what Clash Midnight actually decide to do to bring this back. Now, obviously, G2 at match point now, one more win, and they take the entire tournament. So let's see if Clash resort back to things such as the Senna Nautilus, or if they're going to continue trying to use these hyper carries to fist fight the bot lane of G2. So the Rek'Sai ban, obviously Sheena is extremely comfortable on that pick. Pantheon ban away again from Clash Midnight. This has been a permanent ban throughout. The Lucian gets taken away from the side of G2. But again, I feel like targeting things like the Lucian that fall off is probably not the play. Senna does get banned away from Clash as well. So I think G2 kind of know that they do not want to play. How's it going, Sin? How are we doing, my friend? Okay, let's see what they look to prioritize in this B1 slot. I mean, Zeri is open at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised if Kaltis wants the Zeri here. Milio is open, though. So this is kind of interesting, actually, because in the previous games where G2 have been on red side and they have left Milio open, they've had some really big answers to the Milio, and they have late invaded a Milio in multiple games in a row now. So let's see if Clash have the ability to late invade, or I mean they should look to late invade, but let's see if G2 have an answer to the strat that they have been using throughout. Playing Fraud Champ Zeri, I mean, champion's broken at the minute. Trinity Force is so good. I literally I said as soon as I saw the changes that Zeri would be incredibly broken with Trinity Force, and I feel like nobody believed me until they started seeing Zeri pop off, and now all of a sudden Zeri is just banned all the time. So we do see, again, Blind Nah completely fine. You've got that hop to get out. You end up with as a big beefy front line. Tifa pulls out the Seraphine again, so again, really comfort pick for her, and just looking to get mid prio into invasions with Sheena. Again, they're looking to prioritize jungle matchups super late into the draft, which, again, when Sheena's popping off as hard as she has, Rek'Sai ban is because Sheena is a very big Rek'Sai player, and it's just a respect ban. Like, she pops off massively with it. Okay, so we have Nautilus with the Yasuo. So the thing is with this, though, is this does cancel away the ability to take Zeri, and it does give Clash an extra ban, but I don't think it's massive, to be honest. I think you can still look to potentially go it. Now, obviously, it does mean that things like Jinx are very scary to go, and you can't really go something like Ezreal with the Milio, but in general, I don't think they're too worried about it. Let's see what they decide to vary it into. I'm very interested to see how they play their level 1. I would love to see Clash look to late invade G2 and see how they respond with it, just because I think G2's early game has been significantly better, and their early game plans have been absolutely on point. Obviously, we do have the Yasuo come out. You can go things like Vex into Yasuo, but they decided to go for the Seraphine. Vex just kind of shuts down the laning phase entirely for Yasuo and stops him getting ahead. But we could see something like the Diana come in from the side of Clash to pair with the Yasuo. I mean, Samira, Dole... No. I mean, you can go Yumu's, don't get me wrong, but I really don't think it's viable. Saving top lane for R5, which I think is a little bit risky, especially when they're playing into Kaltis, and she has been showing that she is a huge hyper carry. Probably going to be the Aphelios again. Yesterday in the semis, played Aphelios 2 games and absolutely dominated with it. Actually, no, it was in the quarters, round 1. So, again, Aphelios over heal, huge. Okay, so, right, now, the reason why this Graves is really oppressive here is because, again, they can... It kind of shuts down the ability to late invade for... Yeah, I was just about to say, G2... Again, a huge draft diff. Like, they're putting the Yasuo in top lane, which... Again, not too hot, especially taking Ahri so late into... Sedge, like, super late. I don't know. It's... it's a little bit doomed. I mean, they're going to be looking to play very hard for this top side, but yeah, like they have Azeri, Nautilus, Yasuo, and Sejuani that are looking to dive. Like, you can't dive into the Aphelios in team fights. You can't look to be on objectives. Like, all G2 Hell need to do here is be on objectives first, the exact same way as they did in the semi-finals that we kind of went over earlier with the Seraphine kind of pick. All they really want to look to do is make sure that they're kind of on that objective first, and there's not really much they can do. Earlier they were running it with an Ornn, which they're running it with a Na now, but Na kind of does something similar to Ornn, just not from as far away, but it doesn't really matter when you do have this Seraphine. I mean, Milio is extremely broken, so I actually did a tweet as soon as I saw Milio get released, explaining how he was such a massive mistake and should never be implemented into the game. Like, the thing with League of Legends that makes League of Legends so magical is that whenever you make a game and the design, when it comes to game design, the main thing that you should always be taking into consideration is consistency and fundamentals. Fundamentals are such an important part of a game because you allow people to not only learn the game to a decent level through those fundamental skills, but you also get the opportunity to make it so that, let's say, for example, I play League of Legends for 3 years, and then I leave, I go and play something else, I never play it again. If I come back in another 2 or 3 years, and the fundamentals of the game are still the same, I can pick up that game, and I can still get to similar kind of places again, right? I can still kind of get to the same elos, I can still be just as good, like, maybe not just as good, but almost as good as I previously was, and you can still play. Now, the issue you have when champions like Milio are introduced, which warp the fundamentals of the game, you start, basically, you create champions that are way too strong, you make it impossible to balance, because their strength comes from how broken they can make other champions, and it just becomes a massive mess. So things like attack range, when you're learning bot lane, attack range is such, and team fights, attack range is such an important stat that you need to be able to respect in order to space properly. And if you're not doing that, then you just end up in an absolutely horrible position. Now, the fact that Milio can warp those fundamentals and give additional attack range, but not only that, when you are playing Enchanters bot lane, one of the main things that you look for is you look to take some form of all-in, so that before they get chance to sustain their ADC back up, you can use multiple ability rotations to all-in them and shut them out. Now, the issue with Milio, because of how his Q works, completely dismissing any form of engage, it just gives the champion the ability to free scale and do a lot. Now, in solo queue, it's even worse because you can't really play or have the edge through communication or team advantage. But in comp, it's a little bit different because, as we saw from G2 in the first 3 games of the day that they've played, they look to repeatedly late invade early so that they can stop Milio from getting that scaling potential. But again, it's just really, really awkward to play into. 3 Scorch and 2 Shields, yeah. It's rough, because the way you usually beat that is you look to take somebody that can engage on it, and then you go from there and you just blow it up, and that's how you beat things like Lulu, stuff like that. Like, if you give her the chance to scale, she's going to be really, really strong, but that's why you take things like the Thresh and the Nautilus into it early so that you can single her out, put it away. But yeah, AoE cleanse as well, like, all of a sudden you're warping another fundamental, because ADCs that would usually take cleanse into rough situations now no longer have to take that cleanse, so they get an additional either defensive or aggressive summoner in the lane. So this is why Lucian is kind of good with the Milio, because you can just take things like Ignite and you don't need the cleanse, even if it's a really good cleanse game. So yeah, I don't know. I made like a massive tweet about how it was a massive mistake and that it'd be broken and it'd be too strong, and I had people telling me, no, it's not going to be broken, it's not going to be too strong, like, you don't know what you're on about, you're overreacting, and then all of a sudden it's 100% pick ban and absolutely broken with, in my opinion, no clear way to nerf the champion. There's no way in my head you can nerf that champion out of viability. It's just not possible. Which, if you had a game where every single champion couldn't get nerfed out of viability, then it'd fit in. But then you'd be playing Dota 2, so it doesn't really matter. Like, that's the kind of the design around Dota 2. Everything is broken, so nothing is broken. But in League, you don't get that because they put a lot more effort into the balancing, and that's why the game survives longer. But yeah, like this is the thing. So the thing that people don't get about the game, let me just change. The thing that people don't get about the game is ADC is incredibly strong. Don't get me wrong, but ADC survives because of support. Support can do a lot because jungle can play with it, and then mid can do a lot because they can influence bot lane as well. Like, this is the thing that people don't realize. Everything in a coordinated environment is set up for getting ADC ahead. In solo queue, not as much. I mean, ADC can be strong at like really, really high ranks in solo queue, but again, it's mostly because supports are really strong that are allowing those ADCs to be big. So this is what people don't realize. It's not ADC being broken, it's support being broken and allowing ADC. And if you're playing ADC and your support doesn't understand the game as much as the enemy support, that's going to be a massively awful lane to play. And the only way you're going to be able to consistently carry that game is to give away so much that it's miserable to play. And you have to play really slow and boring, and people don't want that. You're opening the game up to way more flips. So it can be rough. I think even taking away a shield charge wouldn't do enough, to be honest. I think the champion is just so unbelievably broken, and I think it will always be broken. I don't think there will ever be a time where this champion is not strong. I think the only thing they could do is make the W just like another heal and get rid of the attack range. But I think that's it. Like, it's really, really rough. So, again, we don't actually see G2 do anything in particular. Milio did just get spotted walking, so super late to walk there, actually. Not good at all, but... yeah, I mean, Karma's already, like, one of the few things that you can take into it, but you need something like Karma Ezreal, because you need to be able to just get it under tower and just poke it like crazy. But then for that, you need jungle attention as well, which, again, in an Ezreal Karma lane, you usually don't get jungle attention because you don't really have any setup. Not consistent, anyway. But, I mean, either way here, we have very little knockups for the Yasuo. I mean, Yasuo is going to have to rely very heavily on his Q in order to actually get a big engage here. I mean, Nautilus can get multiple, but what you end up doing is as soon as Nautilus ults, you just split away from the rest of your team. Milio versus Enchanter, you never win and get outscaled no matter what. Then obviously, yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly what I think too. Because so there's a method that that I often teach to a lot of players when they're new, which is called PASP. Oh, okay, so very heavily aggressive trade from Kaltis walking in here. This is a little bit of a mistake. Zeri can do a massive amount of damage, but Milio does actually walk up and do a lot. I mean, maybe potentially heal, but what is this Nautilus doing? Why would you just completely waste your flash like that? That is incredibly bad, especially when Zeri needs to farm the wave. That's really, really grave. But like I was saying, so there's a method that I teach to new players or players that are very like lower ranks, which is called the PASP method, which stands for poke, all in, sustain, and poke. So it doesn't apply to everything, but if you know nothing, then it can help by knowing it a little bit. So it basically revolves around the concept of a poke champion. If you poke out an all-in champion enough, you will get them so low that they can't all in without, you know, potentially dying, which is huge because all-in champions need a big HP pool to repeatedly all-in. Then all-in champions are good into sustain because sustain wants to use their kind of cooldowns for a kind of a quite long period of time to heal your ADC back up to allow you to actually do anything. So if you all in them multiple times, you don't actually get the time windows to heal your ADC back up. Lysia's wave is looking a little bit doomed now here, actually, especially considering Sejuani is here. I don't know if they know that the Sejuani is in this area, but playing very heavily for this Yasuo, kind of awkward. But yeah, so basically the all-in picks will have a really good chance into sustain because they kill them before they have chance to sustain, and then sustain picks will be good into poke due to the fact that every time, let's say I poke somebody out with one ability, it costs me 100 mana and I do 100 damage. I need to be able to keep consistently doing that 100 damage, and that will whittle them down eventually to 0. Let's say they have 1k HP, 10, 10 abilities and they're down. Now, if, say, for example, my mana pool allows me to get somebody from 100 to 0 with 10 abilities, and then they heal up the HP the 5 of my abilities do, then you end up in a position where you end up completely negating their mana pool, and then they end up locked in lane, not being able to poke. They can't control waves. Okay, really big engage from the Nautilus, but again, the huge amount of shields from the Milio, and this W coming down, what do you ever do? Like, you cannot play Nautilus into Milio in these situations, because look at that, Nautilus completely, just he's gone out of lane. 10 HP left at the moment, and what you doing to that? And this is the thing, those heals from the Milio, and again, they just safely back away now, and there's not really much they can do, so really, really counterintuitive champ, really awful design in my opinion, but yeah, so in general that kind of method as well you can apply to things like items, stuff like that. Let's say for example you're playing into a heavy poke lane, you can go things like Vampiric Scepter or Bloodthirster in order to heal up some of the poke damage, so it kind of applies to multiple things. If you're looking to kind of, if you're playing into the sustain pick, you can maybe go something like an early BF sword to get more damage on your all-ins, stuff like that. So again, Milio just completely breaks down this fundamental concept, and it's just miserable to play into. Yeah. Let's have a look. Cassante, yeah, is broken. Again, a tank, builds nothing but tank, gets to be a damage dealer based on that. Weird. Again, we see Tifa actually yet again really, really good. Just comes down instantly to help Sheena on this objective. And this is the thing, just consistently looking to prioritize these dragons early on. Dragons are incredibly valuable, about 1200 gold each dragon. They're just so strong. And again, G2 are consistently prioritizing them, and no other team is doing this, which is huge. Champs by release date, let's have a look. So yeah, Milio broken, Cassante broken. Sin, I don't know what your opinion on this, but in my opinion, I think Nyla is actually... so Nyla was incredibly sleeper OP when it was heavy tank meta. Not as oppressive now, but I still think she's really good. I still think a lot of people sleep on that champ. Yeah, she does, but she still has those really frustrating mechanics, right? Her W that allows you to, just completely avoid auto attack damage on you and your carry. Very, very strong. I think that anti-fun is super big, and also combining E with Q for a guaranteed Q land, really, really big. Turns you into an ADC as soon as you get in, and then your ultimate as well, giving you massive amounts of sustain. You combine the heal from your ultimate with a good W, and very, very big. Yeah. I doubt you'd lose to a gold player on Saya, I'm not going to lie, especially when you're Grandmasters, but either way. But, I mean, again, Belveth I think is ridiculously broken. Have you had the chance to play with or against a Belveth support right now? I did some research on it not too long ago, did it for a skill cap video. Absolutely disgusting champion in the support role, also very strong in the jungle role as well. Again, they have cool concepts, but they're just completely broken. Renata as well. Renata, incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful too, especially in some of the kind of things. I think the last champion that I don't think was completely disgusting is Vex. So that was in 2021. So September 2021 was the last time when I think they released a champion that was not absolutely disgusting. The only reason I think she's not disgusting is because she falls off really, really hard. But again, it's awful to play into lane. Playing things like Yasuo in lane against a Vex is absolutely nightmarish. It's just so awful to play. Akshan, I think, is sleeper OP. I think this champion has been so strong for so long as well. Gwen, we see all the time. Viego, not as much anymore, but again, completely took over the game for a long time. Rel, I mean, you and me very much abused Rel very hard. In X7, very strong champion if you pair it right. Okay, Sheena actually does get caught there, but again, Milio just keeps her alive, and Aphelios manages to get first blood. A really big... Okay, Ari actually ulted in a straight line, and Seraphine managed to just pop her. Okay, so... Okay, I think Kaisana is just, a bit checked out, I think. And, I mean, when you're playing against something like Zeri and I mean Milio. Can you really blame her? Hey, how's it going, Bullet? It has been a while, but I mean I got invited to co-stream this tournament, so here we are, a weekend of streams. Although I will be uploading every single live game and VOD review from this tournament to YouTube. So again, if you want to do your boy a favor, you know. Oh wait, commands don't work when I do them through. Wait, what? Is my YouTube command just broke? Ah, it is. Where's my YouTube command broke? Nightbot? Trolling? So they will be all here. Yeah. Against, against G2 Hell. Oh, wait, no, against Qlash. Yeah, I mean, they are, like, fairly good. I mean, they played really, really well in the semis earlier. Okay, so Sana actually manages to maybe... I mean, she locks the Nana down slightly and does manage to get the kill, but trading that, not too good in general. But the thing is with this game is they're playing very, very skirmish heavy, which I feel like this is what you need to do to G2 Hell. Unfortunately, the Ari charm doesn't land on the Graves there, but really, really good. Against G2 Hell? Wait, or Qlash the main team, like the men's team. I actually played into... I was playing Flex the other day, and I got put into a full 5-man squad of the C-Play team. Like, literally, like, multiple, like, Grandmaster players. I was like, what on earth is going on? And then I played another one the other day. I got put into an entire, like, Div 1 Italian team. Like, one and both, obviously, but... I mean, it is kind of fun playing into, like, full 5 stacks of, like, pro players. It's one of the reasons why I've only really been playing, like... really enjoying Flex lately, just because if I can get put into these, like, and also like it definitely feels good to play into players that I haven't spoke to in years, like, just because I haven't played in high elo in so long, since like what season like 9 was the last time I was Masters, I think. So playing into those players again is extremely fun. I got challenge Flex, but high ladder is just all tuning this. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's very frustrating. Like, the amount of boosters in Flex at the moment, I'd have so much more fun in that queue if I didn't get them. But whenever I'm like, you know, you see like an 800 LP challenger player and you're like, oh, this is going to be fun. They play absolutely terrible, but then they've got like 4 Plat 4 players that are clearly not Plat 4 players. Yeah. I think it got to a point, my queue is about 16, 17 minutes. I was 2 wins off Grandmaster, and I got a 25-minute queue. It was, like, so frustrating. Like, by the time my queue had popped, I forgot that I was even in queue for Flex. But it's still pretty fun. I mean, you do still get games where, like, I just randomly get put against, like, 1200 LP challenger player. I got put into, Melanic and a full 5-man Polish stack, like, not long ago as well. Like, there was nothing I could do. Absolutely impossible. Like, how am I meant to beat Melanic in a 5-stack Polish, like, Div 1 team? It's crazy. But, I mean, it's what I get for playing Flex. I mean, it's still fun to get smashed. Or, I mean, I think it is anyway. Like, getting smashed by, like, a 5-stack, I don't mind, because I can take a lot away from it, especially from how their junglers play with said 5-stack. And then I can either incorporate it into comp or next time I play, or... I think it's still good. But yeah, rank 5s was good. The only thing with rank 5s is obviously you have to play with the same people, which made it a little bit rough. I mean... Yeah, I think the thing is they have Qlash, so you don't need rank 5s. I guess that's the thing. Bring back Twisted Tree Line. That's what I want. Like, because now it's like a position where it's like, okay, I don't want to play Summoner's Rift. I do want to play the game, though. I enjoy the game. I do want to play the game. I don't feel like Summoner's Rift. If I go into Aram, I can't play the champions that I want to play, and there's nowhere else that I can play choose my champions and still have a relaxed experience. Normal games, sure, but like, again, if I don't want to play Summoner's Rift, I don't want to play Summoner's Rift. So like Twisted Tree Line was like, I could lane against somebody, have fun, and not worry as much about junglers just ruining my laning experience. So I want Twisted Tree Line back, but it's never going to happen, so no point keeping around. But, I mean, again, so back to the game. One thing that we are seeing yet again is G2 prioritizing early dragons, prioritizing Herald. This is the thing. The thing that I think has been really good about G2 in this tournament is they've come in, they've said, this is how we like to play the game, this is how we think the game is strong, this is how we practice the game, this is how we're going to win with it. And they're basically saying to every other team, try and beat us. And no team has been able to. Like, they haven't dropped a single game. Like, no team has been able to match their playstyle, which, again, shows very good commitment from players, very good scrim knowledge. They've got the experience on the picks, they've got a good style, and staff team are good. Really, really good all-round kind of performance in this tournament from the side of G2. Love to see it. So again, now we're in a position where G2 also don't need to do anything too crazy, purely for the fact that they're getting very heavily kind of shut down by... Okay, I mean, Tifa, unfortunately doesn't manage to get the Sejuani, but... Oh, that's very, very unfortunate. The fact that she managed to nearly get a return kill there from a dive is really, really huge. Unfortunately, she didn't have Liandry's just yet, which is unfortunate, but again, you've got Kaltis running up mid now, they drop Herald, and now this 3-sack are going to just look to take down T1, and look to kind of go from there. Oh, unfortunately, they didn't quite manage to... Ah, they do, never mind. So that's first turret in mid gone. Usually you'd like to prefer to get that turret in a side lane, but when you've got Aphelios just in mid, it's pretty good. Ulting with Calibrum is always quite awkward, but it does manage to give you the range to get a big amount of chunk onto the Zeri, and guess what they're going to do? They've got a big fight in mid, they've got a big chunk, and now, surprise, surprise, they force Zeri to reset, they're going to go into this dragon. They get an Infernal Soul again, which, in my opinion, besides Hex Soul, is the best soul in the game. And now they're just going to force the enemy team to play on Soul Point. So again, just really clean, consistent gameplay coming in from the side of G2, which we've seen throughout this entire thing. So even though the gold looks almost dead even, you've got about maybe about 3,000 to 4,000 gold advantage in these dragons at this point. Tifa does get caught again in mid lane. Should have just let this tower drop, but again, after the performance she put in last game, I'm really not gonna hold it against. So we see the Trinity Force come in from the Na. Probably going to look for, again, something like the Serax come through. Just because, again, I've said this so many times, but Trinity Force Serax is such a strong combo that people don't realize. 20% base AD bonus from Trinity Force, and then bonus AD based on base AD from Serax is incredibly powerful. Unfortunately, Sheena does get caught inside the jungle. We have seen Sheena get caught a little bit too much in terms of these games, but... look to pick up the Yumus and going into potentially a Black Cleaver here. So again, that's going to give it a massive amount of haste. One of the things here, finished off Yumus and double haste spike is incredibly powerful. But unfortunately, the Milio does get caught, uses his cleanse to get out of there. Or sorry, ultimate. Kaisana nearly getting dropped by there, but unfortunately Aphelios wasn't in a position to take that fight. So unfortunately, she does just die for no real reason. Unfortunate that she got caught. Again, Radiant Virtue coming in from the Milio here, just to kind of amplify the healing as much as possible. And yeah. So again, we do manage to get a tower inside of top 4, the Na, but getting collapsed on by the Yasuo and Sejuani here. Yasuo does get that enhanced... sorry, Sejuani does get her E from that, but we do see a TP coming in from Tifa here, looking to potentially turn this fight around. There's only 2 of them here. This is a 3v2. If Tifa manages to get ultimate, it could be good, but not quite. They're just going to back away from this. They do need to just kind of save everything. Tifa's ultimate will be up by the time Dragon is coming. So all they really need to do is get the initial... Okay, Kaltis with the clean flash and the movement. Misses the ultimate, unfortunately, but 200 years coming in clutch, but unfortunately not quite. If she didn't miss the ultimate there, she would have actually looked to kill them all, but will we look to see to go to a game 3? I mean, Qlash coming in fighting. This is the first time we've seen G2 bleed. Okay. First time we have seen G2 bleed. A really good TP coming in behind Kaltis here. Was a really good flash and some pretty good movement there, but unfortunately not quite enough. They will be going for Baron here. Like, the thing is here, G2 don't really need to look to be in these positions where they're kind of getting picked off due to the fact, I mean, Tifa, again, having to use flash here. This is just going to show that when G2 aren't in the lead, then they are looking like they can bleed as well, which is very, very interesting. But also, I mean, the first game of the day today was 7.5 hours ago. So you do start seeing the fatigue start coming in for these players now. Playing for that amount of time is really draining. And this is one of the things you often find when grand finals are done on the same day as other rounds in a bracket, is you do get to kind of this stage where players start getting tired. You start seeing them make silly mistakes, and you can potentially lose games due to that. So it's big. I mean, I do still think G2 have a massive amount of opportunities. I mean, there's 1 minute 20 coming in for this Infernal Soul. Infernal Soul will massively change the game state for the side of G2. Unfortunately, you do have Zeri scaling. She doesn't have an enchanter this game, though, so a little bit awkward for her. But yeah. So we do still have this Aphelios Milio combo later on into the game. And again, you do have the Seraphine and Na combo also. So we will see how this game does end up shaping up. But objective coming up soon. We've got 40 minutes on Dragon. They are choosing to go into top side again. Sheena going top to try and get something on this Yasuo. I don't think they should be looking to delay the Infernal Soul spike, but again, maybe they are just looking to get a advantage top lane first. It's coming up in 26 seconds. They're not going to be on it first. They do manage to get the Yasuo though. Maybe they will go to Baron again. Tifa is here also, and they are on Baron first, so we are going to be looking to see a really big ultimate come through from this Seraphine. Na is fully mini Nara at the moment though, which is rough, but Milio gets caught, but it doesn't even matter. They get the catch on Kaisana, sorry, with the Seraphine ultimate. Really nice Gale Force coming through from Kaltis, and she is on red-white. Good gun rotation for that fight. Does ult to try and use Calibrum to kind of use her white gun a little bit more effectively, but not quite. Now they do end up backing away from Baron here, but they do manage to get a shutdown on the Yasuo, and they manage to get a kill onto the Nautilus also, and now, I mean, Qlash just didn't even bother clearing vision away. They just went straight for the dragon, and now Sejuani's in a position where, because she went for the dragon, she's now walking back. I mean, we don't have ultimate on the side of Tifa though, and this is looking a little bit risky. We do have an ultimate coming in from that, and he is fresh, so I think, but again, Milio allows Aphelios to just survive and manages to get that kill there, and now Kaltis is just going to be able to run them down. That healing that comes through from the Milio there, absolutely massive, and Radiant Virtue keeping her alive also. It's not looking good for Qlash, not because they're playing it bad, but because their kind of composition is just not on the same level as what G2 are, and also G2 are playing the exact same style that they've shown this entire kind of game. So again, I mean, Kaltis does have Graviton Infernum combo, but she doesn't have ultimate available just yet. If she does manage to save some of her ammo for her Infernum, then once she does get ultimate up again, that can be a large amount of damage going over, but unfortunately not. Yasuo does manage to windwall the Seraphine ultimate, but she does manage to catch the Zeri with a rogue Q. Now they're going to look to potentially start this Baron maybe, but Kaltis is still alive. She's going to look to push out mid, and maybe we actually see some punish down mid lane for a change. Qlash not deciding to go and push mid out before they move, so I mean, Aphelios guns currently, what is the rotation? Maybe still Infernum? Okay. So, Infernum and Severum does manage to get Infernum, only goes on to Kaisana though, and unfortunately Yasuo's wind wall does block away. Graves tries to get the ultimate, but again, Yasuo's wind wall means that Graves has to go into a certain position to end up getting off. Does get the charm onto Kaltis, but unfortunately not enough. Baron does go over to the side of Qlash. And I mean, it's looking like they are in a position that they can potentially win this, but one of the things that you often find with teams like G2 is they're so synergized and they've played with each other for so long that they do end up in a position where they can just kind of win one fight and go from there, kind of LPL style. Kind of fall behind early, win one team fight based on superior team fighting, and then go from there. I do think the game is very close, though. I wouldn't mind it going to a game 3. Obviously, I think if you're G2, you'd be upset to drop a game, considering how dominant they have been, but it might make it a little bit more entertaining for viewers. But we shall see. How many viewers does a main stream have at the minute? Nearly, well, look at it, 666 viewers on the main stream right now. Kind of big, kind of huge. So again, not bad whatsoever. We see Aranjuans coming in from the side of Sejuani here. Aphelios very close to LDR. Obviously, one of the big things that makes LDR so impactful is that currently Gale Force has a 400% crit scaling on it. So it means the more crit that you end up getting, the more you are going to end up doing with that item. Very, very broken at the moment. But again, Ginzu's is overshadowing it currently because everybody's funneling way too hard on Ginzu's being broken, which it for sure is. But Gale Force is very, very strong right now also. So they're getting control of this bottom side of the jungle. The unfortunate thing is there is no dragon up for the time being, so it's going to actually give G2 the ability to come in and farm away these wards inside of the bottom side of their jungle. Tifa does have to flash away from that engage though, from the Sejuani. Just looking to use this Baron to just push this down. Double cannons, really, really big. The unfortunate thing that they do have now is these cannons are actually out of... it doesn't really matter too much. One thing that most people don't realize is cannon range actually pushes them out of range of the towers. So if you've got Baron buff cannons, then the tower will actually get defenses against you because it classes that you've got no minions to actually siege with. So one thing that you want to actually be doing is if you get the opportunity to un-Baron buff the minions, let them walk into the tower and then walk up and re-Baron buff those cannons. Again, doesn't really matter in terms of that tower down there. When you're sieging base, it is quite a big factor that not many people take into consideration. But overall, Kaltis sitting back does have Severum and Infernum at the moment, so wants to get rid of that Infernum for her... I always forget the white one, Crescendum. So, again, Crescendum, Severum, incredibly powerful combo if you're looking to skirmish or fight. Unfortunately, they're going to give this dragon over. I mean, they have bought themselves a large amount of scaling time before Elder does come through, and even though Zeri is going to be very strong later on into the game, Aphelios is no laughing matter when it comes to scaling. Aphelios' scaling is incredibly broken also, so we will see what they end up going with here. So Ari is actually putting in absolute work though. 6-2 and 3. This has been one of the most contested picks of this tournament. Incredibly powerful pick in the current meta. So, I mean, to be fair, Qlash showing that they can actually show up. This is why this team is in the finals. Graves trying to run down the Ari, but not quite, cannot get there. But again, so, I mean, G2's draft is very, very powerful. We just have to... Oh, a pause? No, no. The pauses consistently. Please stop. The thing is with the side of G2, their composition is really, really good if enemy teams actually play a 5v5, because as soon as they opt into that 5v5, they're, again, Alphelios really likes, especially because his attack range drops to not quite melee range, but really, really low when he goes into Severum. So it means that if they are running into him, he can drop into Severum and get massive amounts of healing, survive for a significant amount of time, and then just take over the game. But one of the issues that we also have is if they do run into them, then the Seraphine will have the opportunity to just get a really big ult off, which Tifa is one person that has shown throughout this tournament that she knows how to ult. She knows how to get a really good ult off, so we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Again, these players probably getting slightly fatigued. So, game has resumed. Let's see where they're going into from here. We do have a stopwatch coming in from the Aphelios now, which, again, for one item slot, stopwatch is incredibly high value, obviously, because it can completely turn a fight around, especially if, for example, if Sejuani decides to throw ultimate to try and get Aphelios, then a good stopwatch is going to end up getting the Milio or something. But again, trying to use a Sejuani ultimate when you do have a Milio ultimate to kind of cancel it is pretty big. Again, they're just looking to force the dragon here. I mean, we do have White Gun available on the Aphelios, but really big ultimate from Tifa, but unfortunately they are really big for the side of Qlash. Unfortunately, all the side of G2 did take the debuff from the Baron, and they decided to pull the trigger on the Baron first, and didn't really go too well. So, I mean, the one of the issues here is we had Crescendum for Caltis, but unfortunately we also had Calibrum, so there was no real opportunity to use it. But I guess we are taking this to game 3. Obviously, for the side of G2, you'd be Very upset this game. I mean, Graves does try and split the wave. It is going to keep the tower alive for quite a long time, but unfortunately it does not matter. A little too late. I think this is a bit of a fumble from the side of G2, to be honest. Their kind of comp overall was really, really good here. So let's jump into a review. But, I mean, even Kings bleed.